So it's a well-known fact at this point that India-Pakistan relations, given that they are pretty complicated, and that's me putting it politely, have often impacted sporting events and by extension sporting relations between the two nations. Therefore, when news came about that India would have to travel to Pakistan to play in a Davis Cup tie, there was expected to be some sort of a pushback from the Indian side, and true to form, that was exactly what happened. The All India Tennis Federation, or AajTak for short, had requested the International Tennis Federation, or the ITF for short, that the tie be played in a neutral venue. There has been previous for this. However, if recent reports are to be believed, then that is not going to be taking place this time around. So in this video, we'll go over that in a little bit of detail and see why exactly is it that this time around there was no provision or scope to ensure that the tie was not played in Pakistan but instead a neutral venue, and why this is not exactly one of the better looks, let's say, for India, and might actually end up undermining them a little bit in the future, at least when it comes to sports beyond the sport of cricket. Now, first off, it is worth noting that this is all news reports and a lot of it is source based, but one source from within the ITF Davis Cup committee had told multiple newspapers in Pakistan, this is what they said. They said that the ITF Davis Cup committee has rejected Indian security concerns and directed the Indian Federation, that is the All India Tennis Federation, or AajTak, to send its team for an important tie, failing which the tie will be awarded to Pakistan. Now, again, this is nothing new when you're looking at it as far as history goes, because normally speaking, if one team doesn't show up for the tie, the rule in fact is that the tie will be awarded to the other team by default. But why exactly is it that this time around the tie, or let's say the request from the Indian side, was turned down, given that in the past it has actually been upheld? First off, it is worth noting that these same news reports further added that the ITF Davis Cup committee found no grounds on which to actually, let's say, uphold India's request, because they said that there was no actual ground for India to refuse traveling to Pakistan on this occasion in the first place. Now, 2019, when the tie was in fact played at a neutral venue, remember that India and Pakistan were supposed to play. They ended up playing in Kazakhstan instead, and India ended up winning that quite comfortably. But back then, political tensions and in fact were not only much higher, because of course you'd remember 2019 was when stuff like the Pulwama attacks and all happened, but also more importantly, at that point in time, there wasn't much sporting relations that were taking place, not just between Pakistan and India, but with Pakistan and the world. Obviously, this changed now. Now, the real question is, will this in fact reopen sporting ties between the two nations? It seems unlikely, especially when you're looking at the sport which both nations enjoy the most, and that's cricket, but there's a whole different reason for that. First off, the 29, let's focus on why it is now that, there were no grounds, because again, as they said, previously there were few, if any, teams who were necessarily going to Pakistan. You remember that Pakistan remained very much an international pariah of sorts when it came to even cricket, because more often than not their series were being played at a neutral venue. 4 years on, a lot has changed. A lot of teams are touring Pakistan on a consistent basis. So India's refusal doesn't hold much water, given that many other teams are going there, and that India and Pakistan themselves have seen some exchanges in that regard, albeit for international tournaments. You remember that Pakistan, they came to India for the Champions Trophy, Hockey Champions Trophy. The Pakistan football team came to India for the SAF Cup, albeit with some visa issues taking place beforehand, but those were sorted out and the team came. The Pakistan cricket team currently is playing in India for the ICC World Cup, although that had its own fair share of controversies. But the last question, will it reopen sporting ties? Again, probably not, considering just how complicated matters are between these two teams. But what it does show you is that India choosing to, let's say that, we won't play in Pakistan due to security concerns is an argument that doesn't hold much water when it comes to sports beyond cricket. And it is worth noting that in the sport of cricket, India does in fact exert significant influence. The Asia Cup was pretty much moved out of Pakistan and used as a hybrid model, thanks in no small part to India's refusal to travel to Pakistan. There's doubts over whether or not that will happen even with the Champions Trophy, which is set to take place in 2025. So India does tend to throw its weight around in the sport of cricket because there is plenty of influence there. But sports beyond that, it doesn't seem like that's going to hold water. So it does seem like the choice for the Indian team in this case is pretty simple: play the tie or forfeit it and lose the points. And given that India have actually suffered relegation from the top, the world group in the Davis Cup, forfeiting this tie is something they can ill afford. Plus, don't forget that India's tennis players are much better than Pakistan's anyway, so forfeiting it would make no sense. May as well go play the tie, travel out if you do have security concerns. But the sensible thing and the right call would in fact be to go and play the tie. At least that's my thought on things. What do you guys think? You can let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Don't forget to download the AajTak app, and if you're already on the channel, go right ahead, check out some other videos we've done, and stay tuned through the day. For now, from my side, it's goodbye.